My name is Gary Sampson, and I am the chair of the photography department at the New Hampshire Institute of Art. And this week we're doing a series of workshops as part of the low residency program for the MFA at the New Hampshire Institute of Art. And the workshop involves 19th century handmade processes. Students are making wet plate images and cyanotype prints. Each student is having the opportunity to work with a large format camera and make either a tintype or an embryotype image as it would have been made in the 1850s using the wet plate collodion process. It's a very hands-on process that allows the student to not only make the negative image or the plate image, but also allows the student to work with another individual, create a portrait using the view camera, decide on the composition, the gesture, the mood that they want to create. The entire wet plate process probably takes about 20 minutes from the time that the student starts to pour the plate until the plate is developed in the wash. I think it's an important process for students to have because one, they're able to make a piece of art or a photograph in a relatively short amount of time, which has a high level of involvement on their part physically. Many artists are drawn to the tactile aspects of making art, and I think that the wet plate process as an exercise is an important one for them to experience. It's not that I want to convert every individual to wet plate photography, but I want them to think about the history of the medium, about the early days of photography when it was so rare to see a photograph, to better understand the amount of effort and technical discipline involved in creating an image in the 19th century, so that when the viewer looks at photographs in the future that are dated somewhere between 1850 and 1880, they'll have a better understanding about how those images were made. And then when you find a really exceptional image, an image that's not only technically well done, but has emotional content, the image moves you in some way, there's a photographer who has taken the technique but risen above it and really created art. Here at the Institute, we have a very, very vibrant photography program. There are over 100 students studying for their BFA in photography, and then we have another, I think, 15 students in the MFA program. And I think it's important to note that on our main campus in Manchester, in Fuller Hall, where the Teddy Library is located, we have an extraordinary library of rare books. We have over 2,000 rare books that explore the entire history of the medium, including books that have original albumen prints in those books. And you can study the whole history of the medium in special collections. And as part of that, we now have a print collection made up of many famous photographers. I think we have close to 400 prints now. And between the prints, the rare books, and our other holdings, studying photography at the Institute, I think, is really an exceptional experience. Our other faculty are trained in a range of different mediums, including, of course, handmade, but photojournalism, large format photography. We have a state-of-the-art digital lab, and we have exceptional instructors who are teaching a variety of digital photography courses. So a student coming to the Institute and wanting to learn about photography is really well-rounded. They can do everything from 19th century handmade photographic processes when they were state-of-the-art to the current state-of-the-art in the 21st century. We're going to pour the plates in this room, and I'm going to turn the safe lights on in a moment. And then when the plate when the collodion has gelled up, so it's not running anymore, and I'm going to help you identify when that happens, we're going to take the plate. We'll just do make-believe here. We're going to take the plate, which will have the collodion, but it won't be dripping. It'll be gelled on the plate. And we'll take the plate and load it onto the dipper very carefully, we want to make sure that when we put the plate on the dipper, that we don't hit that front edge. If we do, like that, we'll make a mark. And then the plate, and of course you're avoiding touching the front surface, is going to be lowered into the silver bath for 3 minutes. And we'll time it. And then we're going to take it out of the silver bath, and we'll be under safe light conditions only. And we're going to take the plate out of the dipper, and we're going to blot the edge to get some of the excess silver, because it is going to be dripping with silver nitrate. It's just like water. And then we're going to take the plate by the edges and lower it into the film holder face down. I'm going to wipe the back of the plate for you, and then we're going to close the holder. So here's the holder. It has 2 dark slides. And so we load the plate through the back, face down, and then when we put the holder into the camera, it's marked this side towards lens, so the holder will go down where the ground glass was. And then, of course, the back will be closed. And then once it's in the camera, we can withdraw the dark slide, and that'll be the light sensitive side. It'll be facing the lens, and we're going to uncap the lens, pop the flash, put the dark slide back down, race back into the dark room, and process the plate. And the plate, we're just going to put it into a little tray where there's some developer already poured, and we're going to, in one quick action, take the tray with the developer and sweep the developer over the plate, and then rock the developer on the plate, trying not to spill the developer out of the tray. And we're just going to do that for somewhere between 30 and 45 seconds. Then we're going to drop the plate into water to rinse it a little bit, and then we're going to put it into standard film fixer. And when we do that, that's really where the magic happens, and you're going to see that the image will turn from what looks like a negative to a positive. And then we'll wash the plate and dry it, and we'll be done. I am going to do the first, not to waste the metal plates, I'm going to do it on glass. And on glass, it's called an ambrotype. Did you work with glass?
Yes, we've worked with everything. We did a
tintype,
an actual tintype, we did a blooming type,
well,
glass.
the students on Tuesday asked me about glass, and I didn't have glass prepared, but I prepared a piece of glass this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do it on glass, and then that way I'm not using one of the tin sheets. Because the tin, for you can walk away, you've got a finished image, whereas with the glass it has to be backed with some black material. The plates have to be washed for about 20 minutes, and then I usually put them in distilled water with a tiny bit of photo flow so that the water sheets off, and then we just let it air dry overnight. And I think if you went and peeked at people's plates yesterday, like the plates looked very beautiful, wet, and then when they dried, they got lighter. They looked like almost too light, but then after I apply the varnish, they go down and they darken again to their sort of original look. So I'm going to try to, yesterday people were really good. They were in a rhythm, and like one student was teaching another, which was good. And Suzanne, I appoint you to be my assistant now, because you have more experience and Michelle does too. But that way, because then I can sort of take plates and I can move them to a tray to wash, and I can kind of attend to things, or clean out beakers. Like I usually would pour the developer for the student.
Well, I remember pouring it. I found the developer hard, actually.
Did you pour it on the plate?
Yeah.
I tend not to do that because I always think I'm going to ruin the plate doing that. If someone wants to try it, they can. But
we started in the tray, and then.
Did you use a helper tray?
Yeah, we must have done.
See, I don't have a helper tray this size, so helper tray then it would be all right to do that. But
actually, we did. Yeah, we put it in
that little like a little tray, and it has a little hole in the center, and you can put the plate down, pour the developer, and rock it. Because we're going to use only like about 40 milliliters, a tiny amount of developer, a little bit more than an ounce of developer, which is more than sufficient. And we're using it once only, and we're throwing it away, we're tossing it. So without further ado, let me turn the safe lights on. And the only difference between the glass treatment and the tin has a coating, this is called trophy
Tell
plate,
me.
it's aluminum, and it's black on one side, we're using the black side obviously, there's a plastic covering that protects the surface. And we're gonna have to take our fingernail and get the plastic up, peel it away, and just please try to handle this up by the edges, don't take your finger and clamp down on the, except for the, like, I usually will hold a plate like on the corner so you can do that. So we're gonna peel the plate and we're gonna take some rubbing alcohol and we're gonna clean the plate. And I'm happy to actually clean the plate for you. We're gonna clean the plate and we're gonna use that brush to maybe sweep away any last moment dust. And then we're gonna take the collodion bottle here. We don't wanna shake it up or anything, we're just gonna pour it. We're gonna pour a pool of collodion in the center and it's gonna spread out. And what we need to do is, once it sort of spreads out, it's gonna be a little bit like maple syrup. You're gonna need to take the tray and, the plate and so go, rock it here to this corner, here, and of course it's gonna start to run down your hand a little bit, but we love that, right? Okay. And then off to this corner, and I'm gonna hold it like this, and then the excess solution, you can see, there it is on the floor, but I'm gonna pour it into this bottle, and at the same time, I'm gonna take the plate and I'm gonna go like that, gently, and at some point I'm gonna think it's pretty well done dripping, and then I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to swipe the corner, and if it still runs, I'm going to swipe it again until it has to stop running. We don't want to put it in the silver nitrate if it's still very wet, and it's going to gel up, and I'm going to say, oh, and then I'm going to go right out, put it in that plastic dipper, and lower it in one very smooth, consistent motion into the silver nitrate bath, and then we'll turn the timer on for 3 minutes, and then we'll lift the plate out, and I know you'll be good observers here as students. So I don't have to clean. I've cleaned that plate with calcium carbonate and some rubbing alcohol and water, so it should be pretty darn clean. And I sanded the edges of the plate so I wouldn't cut my hand, though I did manage to cut myself this morning before I sanded the plate. So the edges now will not hurt me, and sanding the edges usually ensures that the collodion will stay on the plate. If it was the summertime, there's a chance that the collodion could peel. I don't know if when did you go?
I was there in the summer, yeah. We were doing this all outside.
Did you sub the plate? Did you put a little, did you take egg whites and run it along the edge of the plate?
No, actually we didn't, not egg whites. I mean, I remember I think we did the carbonate or whatever you used on the glass.
Yeah.
We definitely did some prep to it, but.
Because sometimes I've made a plate and then, you've got an image and then it just sort of peels right off.
Right. I know what you mean.
And I'm not gonna make any guarantees that couldn't happen today, but it'll be exciting to take the plate and put it against black so that you can see it's sort of part of the magic there. So, how's our safe light doing there? Let me just see here. Can you smell it? So we're good, all right. So, let's take the glass.
The advantage of doing this outside is you don't.
Yeah, you don't get, yeah.
That is the advantage.
You're fine.
Yeah, I thought I could do the space if you
Okay, so I'm just going to hold the glass like that on the corner. You can see dust is always an issue. Don't know how calcium rock is doing. Okay, so I'm just going to pour this nice little pool of collodion here. A lot of collodion there. So now if I swipe the back, the front there, And this is one of the easy ways to tell, you know, if you're looking at historical negatives. There, so it's set up there now. Okay, so we're gonna go over and so if someone could close those doors, I'm just gonna lower that down, put the cap on. It'll be easier to see the tintype that's illuminating the glass. We're gonna turn the timer on to 3 minutes. So, obviously, you know, we talked about this a little bit in special collections, but obviously, if you are doing location work, landscape work, even if, you know, a wet plate photographer in Manchester, New Hampshire in the 1860s, if they were hired to photograph a street scene in Manchester, a building or looking down Elm Street in Manchester, they would have had to take their wagon with all of their chemistry, their camera gear, set up their camera, compose the shot, focus, then go back into the wagon, which is light proof, prepare the plate. Though they could pour the plate outdoors, but they've got to bring the plate into a safe light or light tight area. And they usually would have a piece of ruby with, or like a red window to allow some light, because collodion is insensitive to red light. It's orthochromatic, so it's very sensitive to blue light, but it's not so sensitive to red light. And they would have to, under like darkroom conditions, lower that plate into the silver bath and time it, and then load the plate into a film holder. And the film holders of the 19th century were a specially designed back that went on the back of a camera. And there's even a little trough in the bottom of the holder that catches the silver nitrate that's dripping. Here it's just dripping into the holder, and I try to clean the holder each time. So you know, to go on location to shoot, you had to bring your darkroom with you. You could not make an exposure and then bring the plate back to your studio, because if the plate dried out, the plate would be no good. The plate had to be processed while it was still wet. So how are we doing here? We got 1 more minute. So it's nice to be able to just run from the classroom studio right into the darkroom and process. Some people have been using these ice fishing tents that are about $200. They're red, and they can be made light proof, and they fold up in about 30. They unfold in like 30 seconds or so. They're designed for ice fishermen, but you can set that up, and you can set a table, and you can put a little Rubio with window in it, and then you can just go out in the field and photograph. You can do landscape work if you want. Or else you build a dark box. And that's what you used. You used John's
Dark boxes,
right?
yeah, and then they had like light type, you know, you sort of like up under a cloth, you know, and there was a little ruby lift thing. You just wait in the dark.
Did you do it this summer?
It was several summers ago. It's been
Okay.
a while. Yeah.
So,
And I haven't done it since, so it definitely takes a touch that requires a lot of practice. But this workshop was great because we did pour a lot of lights, and we kind of, you know, got used to that. You know, getting it sprung out, it's tricky to do.
so the plate looks kind of cloudy, I think you can see. I did get some collodion on the back there.
You get good at it. You can do it quickly. And it's, you know, it just takes kind of doing it a lot.
Okay, so I have a little piece of plastic that is acting like a spring that I'm placing here that applies a little bit of pressure to hold the plate in place so it doesn't sort of flop back out. And now we're ready to go make that happy photo. So see that Michelle is upside down, right?
Backwards.
Yeah.
Backwards, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and these plates, when they're done, the portrait you look at is
Reversed.
right.
On tin, it's
So,
reversed. If
If it's a glass, it's a negative, right? So then
you can turn it over and.
Right.
Yeah, so that ground glass is the size of the plate that we're going to make. I'm just going to push this in a tiny little bit. And readjust the camera a little bit here.
How old is this camera?
This camera I think it goes back to the 1930s, I want to say. And I actually picked it up, I found it on Craigslist, listed in Dover, New Hampshire, and it was $100.
Wow.
Which I thought was a pretty good deal, because on eBay, people are trying to sell them for $600. And sometimes they're sometimes getting it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So we'll recheck the focus afterwards. I think that's gonna work.
But what about the lens, Gary?
The lens is, this particular lens, I think I paid $450 for. It's hard to find a portrait, a portrait lens, a Petzval lens, for not any money, because people are seeking them out for, for wet plate use. And the ones, the bigger the plate you want to make, the more expensive. So you can easily spend $3,000 on a Petzval design lens that's in good condition.
But could you use a modern lens in this
Absolutely.
process?
Yeah, I've used my 240 millimeter 5.6
Right.
Schneider lens. The look of this lens I like better, but you absolutely do it. Okay, so just like in the 19th century, we have to make sure that when we pose the subject, we're happy with it, and that the subject doesn't move, because I get the depth of field. What's in focus from the nearest point to the furthest point with this particular lens is probably about a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch. You'll see it falls off quite dramatically, and that's part of the charm. If you want to take advantage of what the lens has to offer optically, when you see that very sharp face in contrast to the rest of the image, which is a softer rendering. It's what some people value in terms of the technical side, but as artists, you have to do something with the process. It's I think wet plate images just look gorgeous generally, and you've got to transcend that in some way. But I love portraiture. For me, an interesting face rendered, whether it's on film, digitally, or wet plate, is something that I value. So. So that's perfect. Good. That's excellent. Okay. So I'm going to put the cap on, just very gently there. I'm going to come and get the film holder. Make sure it says this side towards lens. It goes into the camera. We're going to pull the dark slide. Michelle's looking at the camera, at the lens. Here we go. That's perfect. We love that. Yeah. It is. And we're going to put the dark slide back in. We're going to go right back into the darkroom and process the. Okay, so I have a little over an ounce of developer here in this beaker, and I'm going to I've got the tray at an angle because I'm going to put the plate up at this end, and then once the plate is in the tray, I'm going to take the tray and tilt it to sweep the developer over the plate. So here's the developer here, and now I'll go get the plate, so you just have to make a little sweep there. because it's glass on white, it's not gonna look like too much at the moment here. What you wanna do is just keep the developer rolling around. Though you can see there is an image building, right? And that's probably about it. So now we have to be just really careful because the surface of the plate is quite sensitive. So I'm gonna put some water in here, rock the tray, and I'm gonna carefully dump the water into the sink and then we'll refill. So, Suzanne, I'm imagining you use the cyanide fixer when you...
We did both, actually, but yeah.
We're not using
We
the
did use
cyanide fixer.
Cyanide fixer.
Yeah, we are not doing that for any number of reasons.
But they do make a richer color.
They do. No question about it. But we're using actually Sprint fixer that I've diluted 1 part concentrate and 9 parts water. So I think we can now
Does
go.
it need to be a hardening fixer?
No, I don't have any hardener in it.
Okay.
So now here's the magic press. You want to come over here as close as possible here. Right? I'm going to put it in the fixer, and it's going to look like the image is actually going to start to disappear. It still looks like a negative, but it's starting to just disappear. If we were using the cyanide fixer, the change is almost instantaneous if you have a fresh fixer. And the cyanide fixer will produce more brilliant or brighter highlights, a plate that has a slightly longer range of tones, but for, safety's sake here today. Because the downside of that fixer is that if you have a cut and you get it into that cut into your bloodstream, it'll kill you. So, the downside.
I guess that's
Yeah.
As the plate continues to fix, you'll notice that the highlights do brighten up a bit. And the downside to using the conventional fixers, instead of having like a 30-second fix, approximately, you have a I find 5 or 6 minutes seems to work pretty.
Just move it through the chemistry.
So you can see it looks like a negative once I took it out of the tray, right? But the tray is black, so it shows us a positive. So
Because it's transparent around glass.
Okay.
And because there's behind it,
Yeah.
the light isn't going all the way through.
We can, let's turn on the lights, Michelle, just push it on. I know, it looks like a negative, right?
Yeah.
And that's positive. Now, let's see if we can, where's my happy cotton ball here? Let's see if we can. Or at least it didn't peel off the glass yet. There's no guarantee. Did you do glass?
Yeah. I never really had a problem with peeling though.
You didn't?
No, there's only like a little speck every once in a while. But
Yeah.
Other than that, it was fine.
I'd say you were lucky, Michelle, because
I don't know if it also, I was drying it with a hot plate, so I
Yeah.
think that's what helped. I wasn't letting it air dry. Because wouldn't that cause it to crack more potentially?
I don't know. It would seem to me that if it was, so there we go, right? There's a metal plate right behind the silver bath that isn't. Well, I'm gonna back that now. So this is, this is why I like to do it like on glass, just as a demonstration, because it is really quite magical, right?
Love it.
Is that all right, Michelle? Thank you for being the subject here.
Thank
So-
you for letting me sit for you.
So we're gonna put that back in the wash, and I should clean the holder. If I don't clean the holder, we're gonna have, some people love all those little like defects and things, but I think we should strive to do something that is fairly clean, but can't always guarantee that. So the surface that's up now is the emulsion site, obviously. And as Suzanne was saying in the classroom, if we wanted it to appear in its proper orientation after it's dry, it would be varnished, and then you can flip the plate over against the black, and it will appear as it did, in reality. Otherwise, you have the mirror image. Your tin types will be the mirror image.
That's a good thing, because it guarantees your picture.
I will just give you a list of sources for materials. And the box and the dipper plate and the adapted holder came from a company in Maine called Lund Photographics. And they make this box for like $30. I stained it and I polyurethaned it to make it more durable, to make it look a little bit antique-y.
Right, that's why I think that, I
but,
didn't know if it was
yeah.
original or not.
Inside of it is a
Yeah.
plexiglass tank that's holding about 600 milliliters of silver nitrate. And the dipper's maybe $10 or so. And it cost $35 to have this film holder cut out so I could put the plate in. And this little plastic spring is providing the tension to hold the plate in position. So some people mix their collodion up from scratch, and did you get the manual as part of?
No, we got his, what does he call it, like good old, working.
Manual?
Some name for his collodion. I do have his manual.
The old workhorse.
Old workhorse
Yeah.
collodion, yes, that's what we
Yeah. Let me just say this about that, and then we'll go on. Bev generally mixes her collodion from scratch, and she's using the old workhorse formula that John gave her, and he has a manual that I have the handwritten version that has been photocopied. And so we're using actually Bev's collodion that she mixed up from scratch. I have been buying old workhorse, the formula, from a company called Bostic and Sullivan, which is out in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And it basically comes as 2 bottles of liquid solution. You pour them together and you have your working solution. when I did tests with the Bostic and Sullivan version of Old Workhorse and Bev's Workhorse is a stop faster. And so I would have to do 2 pops with Bostic and Sullivan's, or go outside and do the portrait. So 2 pops is just more than we want to endure of that light. So even though they're called Old Workhorse, there's something different between those 2 collodions. If it was a still life, obviously it wouldn't really matter, but for portraits it matters. Okay, so who wants to be the first photographer, and who wants to be the first subject?
I'm like so anxious to like not get dust in there, because I know when I'm painting, I paint really dark and use like a glossy varnish.
Okay, so now we're going to clean the plate with some rubbing alcohol here. And then you'll want to dry it. And how's the dust looking?
So.
Okay, there's a brush there that you can use to sweep that. Here, I'll take that. I can be the assistant to the stars here. All right, you're good to go.
Cool.
Do you want to wear gloves?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, are
Should
you
I
left or
wear-
right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Okay, so you're gonna pour with your right hand.
Okay.
You're gonna hold the plate. It'd be best to hold the plate like by an end.
Okay.
So you can do that with your left hand, right? Yeah, good. Right, and then you're gonna pour, yeah, maybe just back up a little bit. Good, so you can see what you're gonna pour, a nice, try to hold the plate as level as possible.
Okay.
And just pour a pool of, and do it in one continuous motion, don't let it dribble and drab. Good, keep going, keep going, keep going. Good, that's probably enough. Okay, you're gonna roll it to the far edge. Back, then back towards you. Good, good, keep going, that's great. Go, lift it up a little bit, you're gonna tip it to, it's gonna drain. You're gonna just go like this, right? Go like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can take it back and do that. Good, perfect. Very good.
It's really cold.
It is cold. I mean, there are so many different sort of tactile aspects to this process here. Good, I think you're good. I'm just going to take that just to see. Then what I do, that looks great, Joe. I'm going to just take that and swipe the end, and it's still running. You can set that down. And it's still running. And now it's set up. All right, so you can take the plate and we'll go over to the silver nitrate tank. And can you see the cradle
Yep.
there? And just try to not have the plate hit the front end of the cradle because it'll leave a mark. Good. And then if you pick up the handle, that's right. And just as you lower it into the tank, it's one continuous motion, just don't catch the edges there. Good. Good, just go straight down. Yep, good, good, good. And that goes on. Let's close that door. Glenn's got the time. That was perfect. Joe, you're gonna be photography.
Awesome.
I could feel it.
That's 3 minutes?
It's so cold. It's so weird about that.
It is a weird feeling.
That's right.
5. Sarah.
You're gonna come up with one constant motion, right? Good. Right. Good. If you turn it kitty corner, it tends to want to run down a corner. Right, good. Okay, so then of course it goes face down into the hole here.
we'll just place it in there?
Right. It won't drop through.
It won't?
No.
Okay.
That is perfect. Okay, so you can set the spring down and don't put a lot of pressure, just hold it enough to catch the dark slide. Good. And just don't put, some of these plates are thinner, so if you push it down too hard, it'll touch the opposite dark side. Good, you're good. Just make sure it's all the way seated. You're golden. Here's your holder. It's good. Who are you photographing? Excellent.
So is this
So
like
is that here?
documentary
Put that down
from
so
the
you-
process?
Good.
Yes.
Want it around,
Yeah. Well,
or do you want
oh, okay, so I thought that was a scarf for a second.
I just
Yeah,
hear, I
it's-
hear the noise, but I
it?
didn't know.
It is, it can be used however you want it.
Do you want me to put like, put it on it, or I don't know.
Like something like this. It's up to you, I just brought it for you.
That's kind of nice, yeah.
Now you can move the camera left to right and up and down, Joe.
Okay.
So this is left to right.
Okay.
Or just make sure you lock it down.
Hmm.
No, and then what do you else?
What's up and down?
Up and down was this one.
Okay.
Like if you want to, but don't put her head too close to the top.
Yeah.
Just be.
Do you want to hold your head a little bit?
Whatever you want me to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Oh, that's.
You tell me.
I'm thinking maybe it has to go this way. Whoa.
Do you want to maybe try under the chin? Oh, well.
This is okay.
No, that looks a little too forced.
And this is your focus right here. And there's your little focus over there.
You want to open your hand like this?
Yeah, that's better.
Almost like you're holding your chin. Less of a hold, maybe.
More of a shove.
Yeah.
Oh, like this?
Okay. Okay.
Good. Now you can go and get the plate and develop.
What happens if it does go?
It's probably easiest to tilt the holder up and let the plate fall into your hand. And then you're going to put the plate into the tray. It's going to go like that, but up at the top, right? Don't let the developer touch it yet. Then you've got to pick up the left-hand side of the tray and sweep the developer over in one motion. Keep going, keep going. Go, go, go.
What happens if there's light comes on?
Good.
So,
So Joe, you're going to want to set the tray down and take the plate and put it into this tray of water.
No?
Yeah. Yeah. Good, and then rock that tray immediately.
This tray?
Yeah, put it in there, yeah, rock the tray. We're trying to avoid having any uneven development, where the developer's lingering on one part of the plate and developing it to a higher density. That looks good. Looks really good. Good. So you can, in about 30 seconds, you can dump the water and fill that again. Are you behaving yourself, Judy? Well, that's always the issue. You might make a plate a portrait of someone that meets your aesthetic
Right.
desires, your sensibilities, but the subject might not like it.
no, I wanted it to be what he wanted.
So you can lift that plate out now and you can put it in the fixer. We're going to fix for 6 minutes. And you can watch the magic happen there.
Oh boy.
I see myself being born.
Let's it's just rocking again, right?
Yeah, you can just leave it in the sink and just lift the tray up. And I am going to take Nick's plate.
Yeah, what do you want me to do?
And
Composition?
Thank you.
I haven't really started, but can you just let that wash in the handmade room?
Right, what do you,
Well, now that tray might be kind of, let's go out and,
okay.
because these guys are in control.
So interesting,
set it
we
up
found a
six.
picture of my great-grandmother,
So
like a
you've got
brown and
about
white,
3 or 4 minutes left.
Okay.
a brown and white,
And then you have to rinse it again.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
a brown and white Victorian photo of my my great-grandmother. And it was at the age when I was getting married, when I was 26, it looked like it was me. Like,
Yeah.
it looked like somebody put me in a Victorian,
Oh, wow.
because I was the same age as she was.
Reincarnated.
It's so crazy.
That's awesome.
Six minutes, of course, we can go into just, you can go to that tray of water.
That tray of water?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, right, right.
Here. Do we need to agitate it?
I can't believe how it brings out the bags, right?
These textures.
That's
came
it,
out
yeah, I know, yeah. These came out. This
Just,
is.
if you just